A big break. Republicans breaking with Trump on Epstein. House GOP leaders bracing tonight for a significant number of Republican defections. Republicans going to break from Trump and support a bipartisan bill calling for the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Trump not helping his cause here, ignoring questions today about why his name appears in newly released Jeffrey Epstein emails thousands of times.
Donald Trump is absolutely losing it right now as Republican senators are turning against him in the most stunning political betrayal of his entire presidency. And this isn't just Democrats attacking Trump. This is his own party, his own supporters, his own allies in Congress publicly saying he's gone too far. Republican senators are breaking with Trump over the Epstein files. House GOP leaders are bracing for a significant number of Republican defections. Freedom Caucus members, Trump's most loyal supporters, are accusing his DOJ of protecting the rich and powerful. And Trump's response? Complete silence. When reporters asked him about his name appearing in newly released Epstein emails thousands of times, Trump said nothing, just walked away, refused to answer. And that silence is making even his own voters ask the most basic, fundamental question. Why is Trump acting like a person desperately trying to hide something? But real quick, before we get into this, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built John Brown's show to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us. Be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. And seriously, check right now if you're actually subscribed to this channel, because you might think you are but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. All right, let's get into this absolute disaster. NBC and CNN are reporting that House GOP leaders are bracing tonight for a significant number of Republican defections. Republicans are going to break from Trump and support a bipartisan bill calling for the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Think about what that means. Trump's own party is defecting. His own supporters are voting against him on one of the most sensitive issues of his presidency. And Trump is not helping his cause. When reporters asked him directly about the Epstein emails that mentioned his name, Trump gave them complete silence. Let me show you what happened. A reporter asked, "Sir, any response to the Epstein emails that mention your name?" And Trump, nothing, just silence, walked right past the reporter, refused to answer. But it wasn't just one mention of Trump's name. It was thousands of times his name was included in new emails. Thousands. And those emails are only a fraction of the actual still unreleased Epstein files. So the question everyone is asking, including Trump's own supporters, is why is Trump acting like a person desperately trying to hide something? Now let me bring the receipts here, because what's happening inside the Republican Party is unprecedented. In July 2025, NBC and CNN reported that a faction of conservative Republicans in Congress, including Representative Thomas Massie and other Freedom Caucus members, broke with Trump over the Epstein files. These aren't moderate Republicans. These aren't never-Trumpers. These are the most conservative members of the House, Trump's biggest supporters, and they're now accusing Trump's DOJ of protecting the rich and powerful, despite his earlier promises to expose elite corruption. Notice how devastating that accusation is. It's coming from Trump's own base, from conservatives who supported him precisely because he promised to expose elite corruption. When Freedom Caucus members say Trump's DOJ is protecting the rich and powerful, they're saying Trump has become what he campaigned against. They're saying he betrayed them. And that betrayal narrative cuts deep because it comes from allies, not enemies. Now let's talk about what happened in the Senate, because this is where the Republican rebellion gets really serious. September 10th, 2025. The Senate voted 51-49 to set aside a Democratic attempt to force a vote ordering Trump's DOJ to release Epstein documents. But here's what's stunning. GOP Senators Josh Hawley and Rand Paul sided with Democrats to keep the measure alive. They said they wanted the files out and they have faith in the American public. Think about who these senators are. Josh Hawley is not a moderate. He's a populist conservative who's been one of Trump's strongest allies. Rand Paul is a libertarian conservative who's generally supported Trump on most issues. These are not anti-Trump Republicans. These are Trump supporters who decided the Epstein issue was more important than protecting their president. The defection of Hawley and Paul is significant because it shows the Epstein transparency issue crosses normal partisan lines. Even Trump loyalists want the files released, and when they say they have faith in the American public, what they're really saying is, the public deserves to see what's in those files. The public can handle the truth. And Trump's resistance to releasing them is wrong. Then in November 2025, the Senate passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act in a lopsided vote after a small group of Republicans defied heavy White House pressure and helped push the bill through. Let me repeat that. The bill passed over Trump's objections. Republicans who defied him won. Australian and American outlets described it as a major win for defiant Republicans against Trump. The dynamic here is extraordinary. You have Republicans defeating their own president on transparency legislation. Trump opposed the bill. Republicans defied him. The bill passed with margins that would have overridden a veto. So Trump signed it because the alternative, vetoing it and having Congress override the veto, would have been even worse politically. The defiant Republicans forced his hand. And that's a massive defeat for a president who's supposed to have total control over his party. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Because it's not just the Epstein files where Republicans are turning against Trump, it's also his National Guard deployments. Several Republican senators have publicly voiced alarm about Trump's attempt to deploy National Guard troops into Democratic states. In October 2025, Senator Thom Tillis warned that Trump's cross-state deployments set a troubling precedent that a future Democratic president could use against red states. Think about what Tillis is saying. He's not defending Democrats. He's defending principle. He's saying that if Trump can send National Guard troops into blue states over the governor's objections, then a future Democratic president could send troops into red states over those governor's objections. The power Trump is claiming isn't limited to Trump. It would exist for any president. And conservative senators who might be comfortable with Trump using that power are very uncomfortable with setting a precedent that a future president they don't trust could abuse. Senator Lisa Murkowski said, "This is not the function of our military, criticizing the use of guard units for domestic law enforcement over governors' objections." Notice what Murkowski is saying. The military exists for national defense, not for domestic law enforcement. Using National Guard for law enforcement functions, especially over state objection, crosses lines that conservatives have traditionally defended. Murkowski is saying Trump has gone too far, that he's violated principles that matter more than partisan loyalty. And this criticism is coming from a Republican senator, from someone in Trump's own party. Now let me explain why the Freedom Caucus breaking with Trump is so particularly significant. The Freedom Caucus has been among Trump's most reliable supporters. These are the most conservative House Republicans, the ones who pushed for aggressive investigations of Democrats, the ones who supported Trump through impeachments, the ones who defended him at every turn. When Thomas Massie and other Freedom Caucus members accuse Trump's DOJ of protecting the rich and powerful, they're making an accusation that would have been unthinkable from that faction just a few years ago. The break reflects genuine anger, not strategic positioning. And the protecting the rich and powerful accusation goes to the heart of Trump's brand. He campaigned as the champion of ordinary Americans against corrupt elites. He promised to drain the swamp. He promised to expose the powerful people who had escaped accountability. The Epstein files represent exactly the kind of elite corruption Trump promised to reveal. So when his DOJ delays and redacts those files, his own supporters see him becoming the swamp he promised to drain. The accusation isn't that Trump is soft on crime generally. It's that he's protecting the specific elite network he promised to expose. And that's a devastating political problem for Trump, because his entire brand is built on being the outsider who fights the establishment. When his own supporters accuse him of protecting the establishment, that brand collapses. Now let's talk about what Trump said when he didn't have the power to release the Epstein files, because the hypocrisy here is absolutely stunning. Back when Trump was out of office, he was asked, "Would you declassify the Epstein files?" And Trump said, "Yeah, I would." He said, "I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it. No problem with it." That's what Trump said when he didn't have the power to actually release them. But now that he does have the power to follow through, he's calling the whole situation a hoax again and again and again. He said that anyone supporting the files' release is engaged in a hostile act to his administration. And he said that any Republican willing to vote for the files' release is dumb and stupid. Why? It makes absolutely no sense. Unless Trump has something to hide. Unless there's information in those files that Trump desperately doesn't want the public to see. And even MAGA stalwarts are asking these questions. Megyn Kelly, who's generally sympathetic to Trump, said on her show, "Why didn't Trump just release these? Just release them. Just release them, right? Like now he's in a position of being singled out." Even people in Trump's own media ecosystem are questioning why he won't just release the files if he has nothing to hide. Now let me show you what CNN is reporting about the scale of Republican resistance. CNN identified 8 Republicans across the House and Senate who have openly resisted Trump, and their ranks have grown over the past year. 8 might not sound like a lot, but these are the rarest of Republicans. The ones willing to pay the political price of visible defiance. The ones willing to face Trump's anger and potential primary challenges. Behind them are presumably many more who share concerns but stay quiet. The 8 who speak publicly are just the visible tip of larger discontent. And here's what's important about that. The visible resistors create space for others to follow. When Republicans see colleagues being covered in the media for defying Trump, when they see those defiers surviving politically, it makes resistance seem possible. The media attention creates a feedback loop. Resistance gets coverage. Coverage encourages more resistance. More resistance gets more coverage. The dynamics can accelerate change within the party. Now let's talk about the political danger Trump is facing with his own base. Trump's voters believe in his anti-corruption message. They expect him to deliver on promises to reveal elite wrongdoing. The Epstein files represent the perfect opportunity to fulfill that promise. Documents that might expose exactly the powerful people Trump's base wants exposed. When Trump's DOJ delays and redacts, the base has to wonder why. The suspicion that Trump is protecting elites could damage his standing with his own voters. And that's the ultimate political consequence. Not that Trump's voters switch to Democrats, but that they stop caring, stop showing up, stop providing the energy that powers his political movement. If the base concludes Trump has betrayed them on Epstein transparency, their enthusiasm could diminish. Diminished enthusiasm means lower turnout, less donations, weaker political support. That's the risk Trump is facing right now. Now let me explain what the Republican concerns about the National Guard deployments are really about. It's not just about this specific deployment. It's about precedent. It's about what power Trump is claiming and what that means for future presidents. Senator Tillis's warning about a future Democratic president using the same power against red states reflects conservative worry about powers that cut both ways. If Trump can send troops into blue states, the next Democratic president can send troops into red states. The power Trump claims would be available to any president, and conservatives who might be comfortable with Trump using it are very uncomfortable with what comes next. Senator Murkowski's statement that this is not the function of our military captures the civil-military norm concerns. The military is supposed to be apolitical, serving the nation regardless of who is president, using military forces in ways that seem designed to punish political opponents, deploying to blue states that defy Trump, politicizes the military. The politicization damages the institution. Military leaders worry about it. Some Republican senators share that worry, and these are principled concerns. These Republican senators aren't being disloyal to Trump. They're being loyal to principles they believe matter more than any president. They're defending federalism. They're defending states' rights. They're defending the proper role of the military. Those are traditional conservative values. And when Trump violates those values, some conservatives feel compelled to speak out. Now let's talk about what happens if Trump goes psycho in response to this Republican resistance. Because Trump's pattern is to attack anyone who opposes him, including Republicans. If he attacks the Republican senators questioning him on Epstein and National Guard, he risks turning quiet grumbling into open revolt. The attacks might work, intimidating potential resistors into silence. Or they might backfire, convincing more Republicans that Trump cannot be trusted to lead the party responsibly. And here's the thing. The more Trump attacks his own party members, the more he looks unstable. The more he looks like he's losing control. The more he validates the concerns that led to the resistance in the first place. So Trump is in a difficult position. If he ignores the Republican resistance, it grows. If he attacks it, he risks making it worse. Neither option is good for him. Now let me show you what this means for 2026. Because all of this, the impeachment papers, the Republican defections, the Epstein controversy, the National Guard concerns, it all feeds into the midterm narrative. Democrats are going to run on this. They're going to say Trump's administration is lawless. They're going to point to Republican senators criticizing him as proof. They're going to ask voters whether they want a president whose own party doesn't trust him on corruption and rule of law. And Republicans will have to defend it. They'll have to explain why Trump won't release the Epstein files, why his DOJ is protecting the rich and powerful, why he's deploying National Guard over governors' objections, why his own supporters in Congress are turning against him. That's a tough political position, and it could cost Republicans seats in the midterms. Now let's talk about what makes the bipartisan nature of this criticism so powerful. When it's just Democrats attacking Trump, Republicans can dismiss it as partisan warfare. But when Republicans are making the same criticisms, when Republican senators are voting with Democrats on Epstein transparency, when Freedom Caucus members are accusing Trump's DOJ of protecting elites, that's much harder to dismiss. Democrats can say, "Don't take our word for it. Listen to what Republican senators are saying." They can cite Josh Hawley. They can cite Rand Paul. They can cite Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski. They can point to Thomas Massie and the Freedom Caucus. The bipartisan nature of the criticism makes it credible in a way that purely partisan attacks never could be. When Republicans say Trump has gone too far, the accusation carries weight it wouldn't carry from Democrats alone. Now, here's the fundamental question. Is this the beginning of a serious revolt within the Republican Party, or is it just temporary irritation that will fade? The answer isn't clear yet. The resistance exists. That's new. The resistance is growing. That suggests momentum. But the resistance is still small. It's not yet threatening Trump's control of the party. The question will be answered by what happens next. Whether more Republicans join the resistance, whether the resistors face consequences that silence them, whether the issues that sparked resistance, Epstein files, National Guard deployments, remain salient or fade from public attention. But here's what we know right now. Trump is facing rare open resistance from within his own party. Freedom Caucus members are accusing his DOJ of protecting the rich and powerful. Senators Hawley and Paul sided with Democrats on Epstein transparency. The Epstein Files Transparency Act passed over White House pressure. Senators Tillis and Murkowski have criticized National Guard deployments. CNN identified 8 Republicans who have openly resisted, with ranks growing. And Trump's response to questions about his name appearing thousands of times in Epstein emails? Complete silence. That silence is damning. Because if Trump had nothing to hide, he would answer the questions. He would explain why his name appears so frequently. He would release the files and prove there's nothing concerning in them. But instead, he's stonewalling. He's calling it a hoax. He's attacking anyone who supports transparency. He's acting exactly like a person who's desperately trying to hide something. And his own supporters are noticing. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown Show because we're going to keep tracking this Republican resistance. We're going to keep documenting every defection, every vote, every senator who breaks with Trump, every Freedom Caucus member who questions his commitment to draining the swamp. Because this matters. This is Trump's own party turning against him. This is his own base accusing him of betrayal. This is Republican senators saying he's gone too far on National Guard deployments and Epstein transparency. This is the cracks in Trump's coalition becoming visible for everyone to see. Share this video with everyone you know because people need to understand what's happening inside the Republican Party. Trump promised to expose elite corruption. His own supporters are now accusing him of protecting it. Trump promised to drain the swamp. His own party members say he's become the swamp. Trump promised transparency on Epstein. His own senators are defying him to force that transparency. And Trump's response? Going psycho, attacking his own party, calling transparency supporters dumb and stupid, remaining silent when asked about his name appearing thousands of times in Epstein emails. That's not what innocence looks like. That's not what transparency looks like. That's what guilt looks like. That's what someone with something to hide looks like. And Trump's own Republican senators are seeing it. His own Freedom Caucus supporters are seeing it. His own base is starting to see it. The question is whether this is the beginning of Trump's coalition fragmenting or whether he can hold it together, whether the Republican resistance grows or gets crushed, whether more senators find the courage to speak out or whether they stay silent out of fear. Right now, the resistance is small but growing. The cracks are visible but not yet threatening Trump's control. But the trajectory matters. And the trajectory right now is toward more resistance, not less. More Republicans speaking out, more defections, more willingness to break with Trump on issues that matter. This story is far from over.